Often we have two kids on the bus that are fighting with one another, two parts of ourselves that are at odds with each other. It's like one part of me is like, I know I need to be motivated to get going on my business, but another part of me is like,
I didn't care any of that. I don't care about going to Canada or USA. I just want my dad. I just wanted him to be there with me. Again, I cannot get emotional talking about it, but you want something in this world, like don't rely on anybody else, go get it. And in business, if you can't make good decisions, it's like a chess game. It's like a board game. It's like any game. If you start making the wrong moves, like you're not gonna do well.
and we've been sitting on a treasure our whole lives. Until we actually look to see that treasure, we will never discover that we actually have a treasure underneath there.
I trust that life will take me to a better place based on the action I've taken today. Trust the process. All right, guys. So last year I met a guy named AJ Patel, and he's the founder of 5 or 6 different direct-to-consumer brands. And this guy is an absolute beast at executing and generating revenue and building more businesses, building a brand, so on and so forth. So I asked myself, how is he able to do so much? And as we started talking, and after we sold our business, he actually mentioned to me that he has a life coach. And I'm like, what the hell is a life coach? Anyways, I got in contact with this life coach. His name is Chad. And I actually ended up signing up for his life coaching service earlier this year. We've been working together for 6 months now. And I truly believe that it's been an absolute transformational experience thus far. So what I wanted to do was actually bring Chad on and actually talk to you guys about why a lot of people have fear of starting a business, why most of the time we are the ones that are getting in front of our own way, and what are some of the practical things that you can do today to actually eliminate your inner critic. So like I said, guys, money is great. Money can solve a lot of money related problems, but it's not the end all be all. There's so much more to life than just money, money, money. And right now, what I'm chasing after personally is a lot of self-improvement, a lot of healing my wounds from the past and facing my insecurities, facing my inner critic, so that one day I can actually turn those things into golden gems. So this episode is going to be a little bit different. It's a little bit long, but I highly, highly recommend all of you to watch this video in its entirety. The beginning, it's a little bit slow, but it gets a lot better. In fact, we actually even brought someone up to do like a live intervention on this person. So anyways, sit back, relax. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. And as always, I would really appreciate it if you guys can hit the thumbs up on this video. It will really support the channel a lot. I hope you guys enjoy this. All right, guys. So the time right now is 5:02. Thank you so much for joining us. And as we're mentioning today, it's a very special occasion. It's so special, the fact that I have to wear a polo shirt. And what we decided to do today was actually bring on Chad. Chad is actually my life coach that I got referred to by a friend of mine named AJ. AJ was on the podcast, on the show, I don't know, a while ago, but AJ is super, super well established in the e-commerce space. He has like 5 or 6 different companies. They all do insane numbers. And after I sold Sdara, I asked AJ, I'm like, just trying to ask him like, hey, what's your secret? What's going on? Like, how are you doing all this stuff? And then I was able to squeeze some information out of him. And Chad was one of that information. He's like, hey, listen, I have this life coach. He's awesome. I've been using him for the past 4 years. And I was like, please introduce me to him. And then me and Chad, we had a call. And I already made up my mind that I was gonna pay for Chad's services. And then at the end, Chad's like, here's my price. Are you like, he's like, here's my price. Like, do you have to think about it? I'm like, no, I don't need to think about it. Like, I already made my mind. He's like, are you sure? Like, I think you should think about it. I'm like, no. I already made up my mind before the call. So
yeah, I thought you were being a little rash in the moment. I was like, wait, we need to have a little bit more conversation. No, I'm going to go for it.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I think that's just kind of like who I am. I've always been that type of person, and just like fuck it.
I'll do it and I'll figure it out later kind of thing.
But
So
but I do want to say something has shifted in you since we've been working together around that.
yes. Yes, I think so. So Chad, I thank you. First of all, thank you for making the time.
Yeah.
And just give everybody a little bit of structure of today's call. So the first 5 to 10 minutes, we're just gonna ask Chad, like, first of all, what the hell is a life coach? How
Right.
did he get into this? Second part is Chad and I have been working for the past 6 months, and he has a framework that we've been working on. I would like him to actually share those framework on a very high level with all of you. And then the end, we had a lot of people submitting their questions and submitting their concerns and their inner critic. And we're going to go through a couple of those and see if we can help help you guys out. So how does that sound, Chad?
Sounds good. Let's jump
Awesome.
in.
Let's do it. So Chad, tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you find yourself to be a life coach?
I came in a really roundabout way to being a life coach. I mean, you've considered that really life coaching hasn't really been a career that anybody would really have until the 2000s. And actually, my background is in the healing arts. I came to life coaching via spending years as a yogi, living in India and studying with various teachers in India. I'm also have a background as an acupuncturist and an herbalist. And so actually at some point in around 2008, I hired a life coach to help me with my business, to help me grow my business. And within 6 months of hiring the life coach, my numbers had doubled. And my wife would overhear the conversations I'd be having with my coach. And she said, you know, I really want to try out life coaching. I want to learn how to do that. And I was like, hell no, I don't want to do that. That's like, you know, palm reading or something like that. In 2008, it was like kind of like it was a really foofy thing to do. And yet we took our first course in Marin County, California. And after the course was over, I came to the realization, I was like, this is really what I've been doing with my clients, my acupuncture clients. You know, the ones that would actually get better were the ones I would have conversations with. And the ones that wouldn't get better were the ones I just stick the needles in and I give the medicine to, and I'd leave the room and just let things take care of themselves. And what I discovered is that there are a whole set of tools available to unlocking people. And really that's kind of what life coaching is. It's different from sort of your standard model of psychotherapy. In the psychotherapeutic model, and this isn't true for all psychotherapists, but generally speaking, in the psychotherapeutic model, you have a psychotherapist or perhaps a psychiatrist who diagnoses a disease. And then they have a treatment principle. And that treatment principle is what they follow to cure the patient. And so as coaches, we come from a really, really different perspective, that we're not holding our clients as ill or broken in some way, shape, or form, but actually we're holding them as what's called naturally creative, resourceful, and whole, which is a way of saying that we all have an innate wisdom within us. And it's the job of the life coach to draw that wisdom, that innate wisdom out through being in what we call in my training, beginner's mind. It's not my own language. It actually comes from the Zen tradition. But that idea of being in an open, curious dialogue with a client, that it helps people to find language for the places where they're stuck, but also to sense the way forward. So my own unique way into life coaching really has been that amalgamation of the yoga tradition that I come from, a Buddhist meditation tradition that I come from, and also all of that work as an acupuncturist. So really it's that idea that that we draw this distinction between mind and body as if they are two separate phenomena, when historically speaking, that distinction was never made. And really, it's to say that the body holds a plethora of wisdom, and it's about learning how to tap into that wisdom.
I think one of the key takeaways that I've gotten so far from, working with you is what you just said about the mind and the body, right?
Yeah.
And I think the mind and the body has been completely almost like separated over the past, I don't know how many years. But for example, if someone says to you, oh, don't cry, like, don't cry, only like if you're a guy, don't cry, like only pussies cry.
Yeah.
But crying is a very physical emotion. But then a lot of times growing up, when we're kids, when we get told that, we try to almost disassociate crying. So it's like, oh, don't cry. If I cry, then I am a whatever. Can you talk a little bit about that? Where it's like, it's okay to cry, it's okay to feel joy, it's okay to actually connect with your body.
Yeah, I mean, we're actually talking about the biology of the body, that there's that tears, as an example, are the body's expression. And you're right that as kids, we learn very early on that certain emotions, certain patterns of behavior um, are going to get our mom's milk. They're going to get the attention of the people around us, the love and the affection. And certain behaviors will do just the opposite. They may land us in a really bad situation, either with our parents or with our colleagues, our friends at school, the people we work with. So we learn really early on that there are certain emotions that are like, yeah, that's okay, I can be happy. And then there are those emotions where either, usually they fall in the category of negative, sadness, anxiety. Really, shame is a big one that we all really struggle with. And we think of those emotions as sort of these, as a psychological phenomena, as concepts. But they are not just psychological, but they're also felt experiences. That when I'm angry, and this isn't always the case because different forms of anger evoke different bodily experiences, but when I'm angry, I experience a kind of a tightness in my chest, or a tightening in the throat, or heat rising up to the face. And if I don't let that emotion move through me, if I keep squashing it down as a way to sort of stay in the good graces of people, what ends up happening is that emotion lives somewhere in my mind and body, and it's affecting me on some level. It's affecting my decisions. It's affecting how I'm interacting with people. And I'm not even aware of it because I'm not connected to those feelings. So when we talk about that mind-body connection, it's often about reassociating or reconnecting to those parts of ourselves that have been sort of cut off or dissociated. We have learned to dissociate from them. And when we dissociate from them, as I said, they run in the background of our lives. There's an old line that Carl Jung used to say. He used to say, what you resist persists. And what he meant was that if you're busy resisting something, pushing down the, let's say it's anxiety at a deep level, it's somehow affecting every decision that you're making, every interaction you're experiencing. So reconnecting to the body is often about reconnecting to those emotions or those parts of our being that have been sort of like pushed to the side.
Right. Yeah. I think, yeah, it's just, as a guy, we've been told so many times, like, only pussies cry, only girls cry, and stuff like that. So when you do want to cry, you just push it down. So it's like, okay, I can't cry. I don't want to be a girl, and so on and so forth, that type of thing. But then the more you put it down, what you just said. It still lives somewhere in you, and it actually lives within you every single day, so that when you are making decisions, when you are trying to do X, Y, and Z, it does actually have an effect
That's
on
right.
your decision making process. So one thing I learned is you cannot make a good decision when you are emotional. That's one thing I've learned. When you are emotional, like how many of us had made a decision when we're emotional and you regret it like the next day? Type in one in the section if you've done that. So many times. So Chad, let's do this. We've been working together for 6 months. Every single 2 weeks, we usually hop on a call and you go over kind of one pillar, I would like to call it, whatever you want to call it. And then it started from something called beginner's mind. And then and then it went to the next, like the kids on the bus and stuff like that. Can you kind of maybe give us a high level framework of each of those? Describe the most important thing, why it's important, and then just move on.
Sure. I think, if we back up, you were saying, and even somebody comment in the comments in the chat below. Yeah, I know this. I know that when you are emotional, it's difficult. You shouldn't make decisions, and we all know that. That's like kind of 101. And yet, in spite of the fact that we know that, we still do, and we don't really know how to make decisions from a place of clarity. It's very difficult. We don't learn in our education how to get to a space of clarity. I think that's the power of these age-old traditions. It's called the perennial wisdom, but it's wisdom that comes down from we'll say the Buddhist tradition, from the Taoist traditions, from the yoga traditions, even from the Judeo-Christian traditions. There's a kind of an essential wisdom that's been passed down. And so in the training that I've put together, it's really a training that melds all of that into how do you make decisions from a wise place? That's really the essential question that we're asking. And so each of the times that we meet, there's a body of knowledge you're taking on that kind of is, I would say, essence to the teachings that have occurred for millennia. And when I say the teachings, I have removed sort of the God part of the teachings, because that's a big problem for most people. Right. But there's wisdom in those teachings. So where we start when we're facing a decision often, and this is the first module of our training, is we start with, we have to confront our limiting beliefs. We have to acknowledge the things that are kind of the biases, the assumptions, the expectations that when we walk into a decision that get in the way. And when we start to confront those, we need to start to step into what's known as beginner's mind, which is the equivalent of don't know mind. Sort of like in a Korean Buddhist tradition, that's a whole school of Buddhism, which is to say, how do we stay in don't know? There's an old story of, actually, I'll skip that because I think you're wanting to get to the essence of things.
Which story is it?
The neighbor and the farmer.
Yeah. Tell us the story. It's a good, yeah.
Okay. So there's an old farmer and he lives in a village in southern China, and he has a neighbor, and the neighbor catches wind that the farmer's horse has broken out of the stable. And so the neighbor goes and visits the farmer and he says, "That's terrible news. You lost your horse." And the farmer says, and he's a kind of a wise man, the farmer is, he says, "You never know." The next day, the neighbor hears that the farmer's son has come back with the horse, brought him back to the stables, but he's also brought a stallion with him. So he found a stallion along with the horse because they were cavorting with one another. So the neighbor goes and sees the farmer and says, "Oh, that's wonderful news. You got your horse back and you got a stallion." And the farmer says, "You never know." And then the next day, the farmer's son is training the stallion, and the stallion comes down, jumps on his leg, and breaks the boy's leg. And the neighbor hears about that and says, "Oh, that's terrible news." And the farmer says, "You never know." And then finally, the Chinese army is marching through town. They're conscripting all the young men to go fight in the warring state, the next state. And they see the young boy, and they see that he has a broken leg. He can't fight. They leave him there. The neighbor finds out about that and says to the farmer, "Oh, that's wonderful news. They didn't take your son." And you can guess what the farmer said. And so that's really the mindset that we're working with in a beginner's mind. It's the farmer's mindset, because we never know. We really never know. Maybe we're afraid to invest in our business, and we take a step and we do invest in that business. We put our time and energy and resources, and our family's laughing at us, and they're making fun of us. And in fact, what happens is that our initial try is a failure. But we don't tend to hold the mindset, you never know, because you don't know, maybe this is the first step that's needed to be taken for that next step to be taken. So that's beginner's mind. That's always where we start when we're making a decision. We have to start with some kind of a fresh perspective.
Right. And I think a lot of our mindset actually comes from when we were growing up, with our surroundings, with our family. And some people are luckier than others. Now I finally understood of like how important a loving family is. But the thing is, not all of us had that, right?
That's right. What's also interesting about our biases and how we are conditioned, some of it has to do, right? It's the stability of our family, and that gives us a greater stability. But not all of us were born with great stability. Mm-hmm. And the same thing can be said. I mean, there's a lot of interesting research called epigenetics that's coming out over the last maybe 5 to 10 years that's saying that the trauma that our ancestors experienced is the trauma we actually have in our own bones. So that's also influencing us, that it actually affects our DNA, and it affects the way we see and experience the world. And so that's really one of the powers of mindfulness practice is learning how to become a stable force for yourself. Mm-hmm. So do you want me to, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say the first one is beginner's mind. So approach everything as if you don't know. Drop all your existing biases, drop all your existing beliefs, and approach it with a very open mind. So that's step number one. What is step number two?
Step number two is learning how to step back and be the observer of your mind and body. Learning how to notice what's occurring in the field of awareness. Often we're so identified with our emotions, we're so identified with our hurts, often we're so identified with our fears. It's learning how to develop some degree of objectivity. And that's really what we do, and we're being mindful. For example, every time we notice that we're lost in thought, there's a moment at which we recognize we've been lost in some kind of trip. And there's a moment where we come back into the present moment. And that's the moment where we start to go, oh, I've been gone. I've been lost somewhere. And I'm back in some quality of presence. So the second step is really learning how to cultivate that observational quality, that presence, and to tune into, where am I getting lost? Where are the places where I get overly anxious or fixated or stuck? And these first two phases of the training are really all about the mind, learning how to see the mind at work, learning to see where we get caught in our limiting beliefs, and learning to see where we get caught in our identity, or we'll call it the ego, like a false sense of self. But the work doesn't end there, because we actually have to we can't just work it within the mind, because all thoughts and feelings, all thoughts are associated with the body. So we drop in, as we move forward, we start to drop into the feeling nature. In other words, we have feelings and we have sensations in the body. We have all this data that's occurring in the field of the body that's trying to, sometimes it's steering us in a great direction, but sometimes it's actually steering us way off. So it's learning how to pause before we react, learning how to feel what's actually occurring in the field of the body, and to develop a relationship to it. You had an interesting experience. I want to just sort of turn the tables at you, Tom, and sort of describe what your experience was of that.
Which one?
Learning how to be in the body.
Right. You would just ask me, like, I would say something, for example, like one of the things where I'm like, Chad, you know, like, I don't know, like, I sold Sdara, like, the next business I want to do, like, do I want to do a lifestyle business where I can travel the world anytime and not having employees, or should I like, should I like have a big business where I can, you know, like have $1 billion? Like, I don't know, Chad, like, tell me what to do. And you're just like, Tom, like, stop. At that point, like, my thoughts were literally just bouncing off walls in my head, where you told me to just stop, like, shut up, sit back, and let those thoughts sit in your body, like your physical body, and tell me where you feel those thoughts. And I'll be like,
and what was your reaction? Yeah, what was your reaction?
I'm like, what do you mean, like, feel my thoughts? I'm like, physically? He's like, and then Chad's like, yeah, literally physically. Where do you feel them? I'm like, okay, like lifestyle business, blah, blah, blah. Like, close my eyes. I'm like trying to feel in my body, my legs. It's like, okay, I feel, where else? Like, oh, my chest. Okay. And then be with that part of the body, like be with the leg, be with, just like nurture it. Like, don't think about anything else. Just be with it to like let them know that you're focusing on that. And then when you start questioning those questions again, if you hit the nail on the head, you actually feel lighter. You feel relieved. You feel like that tightness in your leg actually just went away. And I thought that was like super interesting. And now whenever I in a situation where I don't know what to do, I'm like, oh my God, like, should I do this? Should I do that? And blah, 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 like everywhere in my head, I tell myself to, I catch myself in that moment. So that's where mindfulness comes in. I catch myself in that moment. And then I take a step back to look at the overall picture. Then I try to feel in my body. Then I go through that process. So it's like, how would you say, like, this is just like a really good routine to make good decisions, because we can't, again, going back to the first thing you said, is we cannot make a good decision when we're emotional.
Right. So we have to wait. Like, there's this process of, like, when you said you stood back and you dropped into the experience and you kind of let some of the intensity ride out. And at some point, that's the interesting thing about all emotions or feelings, is that at some point sometimes they arise, they stay for a while, sometimes they get worse, sometimes they get better. But if you keep giving it your attention, eventually they pass away. Mm-hmm. Any kind of intensity. And so a lot of the work that we did together and I do with people is learning how to ride that wave, learning how to stay, because as we said earlier, it's like the orientation we primarily have is when we have anxiety coming up, the first thing we want to do is distract ourselves. We go onto social media, we reach for whatever it is that's our fix to distract. This work is saying, no. Actually, if we turn toward that experience and we let it ride itself out, at some point at the end of that ride, what happens is that there's a kind of a release of that tension that we're holding. And there's a famous quote, and I'm going to butcher the quote. It comes from Viktor Frankl. He's somebody who survived the Holocaust. He was a psychiatrist, I believe, and this brilliant psychiatrist. And he had this great quote. it's between stimulus and response, there's a space. And in that space lies a choice. And in that choice lies our freedom and our growth, which is to say that what we learn how to do is if we learn how to ride the emotion all the way to the end or to the shore, so to speak, that what happens is we create a little gap where we can start to make a new set of choices or new decisions in our lives. So in other words, there's anxiety that arises. We feel the intensity of the anxiety. We don't make any decisions. We wait. We just let ourselves experience it fully. And at some point at the end of that experience, there is this gap where we have a gap of choice or an opportunity to make choice. And so that's actually where I would say that is actually the land of spirituality. Take away the sort of all of the kind of woo-woo about the word spirituality and put at it in its essence. Spirituality is how do we make choices that align with our deepest essence, with what we actually care about and what we're actually here to contribute into the world. So as we start to move forward in our work together, it's really learning how to define what do I deeply value? What feeds me? What actually do I do that gives me a sense of peace? And who do I surround myself with that gives me a sense of wholeness? And what is it that I'm here to contribute? So much of the nonsense that we've been fed in our culture is that we have to be like the guy in the wall behind you. We have to be like a Steve Jobs, or we have to be like who's the guy in Virgin Atlantic?
Yeah, I know who you're talking about with the slick back. Richard. Yeah,
Richard Branson.
Richard Branson. Yeah.
You know, or to be some kind of nonsense influencer. The truth of the matter is that we can't be anybody else. And the things that we can be, the thing that we can be that actually feeds us is not being somebody else or not being world famous or super powerful or financially very successful. Those things help, but actually what gives us self-esteem is our ability to contribute. That actually is what actually makes us feel good. And so the next bit of our work is to define what is our contribution. And the truth of the matter is we make contribution all day long. We just don't really define what is our unique contribution. So in our work together, we define that.
Mm-hmm.
And then we start to make decisions that are rooted in what we value, what we deeply care about, and what we're here to contribute. And I think that's the essence of the training, but it's learning how to sort of ride that wave of emotion, see that gap, see the opportunity that's available to us, and make choices that align with what we actually deeply care about. That's the essence of it.
And I also want to share one more thing. It's going back to, again, decision making. Like for me, when I first joined this life coach with Chad, is because I've been so, just been doing business, money for the past like 4 years. And I know that there's more to life than money. I know there's more to life than building businesses, right? So I wanted to explore that spirituality side of life. I want to explore, I don't even know what I was going to explore, but I was open, again, having that beginner's mind of that. So, but one other story that Chad shared with me that really resonated, what actually, Chad, I want to let you tell the kids on the bus. And it's just a perfect example of how we can't make good decisions when we're emotional. But can you talk about kids on the bus? And can you also talk about like the cloud in the sky?
Sure. There's a way in which we become completely identified with all of our thoughts and feelings, especially when we are overwhelmed or we're in some form of fight or flight, some kind of anxiety, some kind of excessive stress. And so you can think about yourself being like a bus driver on a bus. And on the bus are these various parts that we are made up of. Perhaps we have an anxious kid on the bus. Perhaps we have a competitive kid on the bus. Often we have two kids on the bus that are fighting with one another, two parts of ourselves that are at odds with each other. It's like one part of me is like, I know I need to be motivated to get going on my business, but another part of me is like, yeah, I'm just going to stay here. I'm going to watch television. I'm going to turn on I'm going to check my Twitter feed or whatever that is. And we start to feel that kind of tension. And so you think about it, oftentimes we are so identified with those kids fighting with one another that we forget that we are actually the drivers of our bus. That we're referencing, that is the driver of the bus, it is sort of commonly understood to be, it's called awareness, or we could call it the witnessing self, or the self with a capital S. There's all sorts of names for it, which is that ability to notice or be aware of. And often what we don't do with those kids on the bus is we don't acknowledge them. On the contrary, what we try to do with some of the kids on our bus is that we tend to try to push them off the bus or send them to the back of the bus and to shame them. And we have parts of ourselves that we just are completely embarrassed about or are ashamed of. But as we start to work with the various parts of ourselves, we start to notice that there are kids on that bus that have been sidelined, pushed off the bus, sent to the back of the bus, that while carrying a great deal of pain are actually treasures. I call those kids your vulnerable inner children. And we all have vulnerable parts of ourselves that, even though we have spent a lifetime pushing them down or pushing them away, they actually are filled with deep knowledge about ourselves. And it is our vulnerability that allows us to be related to other human beings and to be relatable. And it's actually our vulnerability that motivates us and actually is what sends us onto our journey into discovering who we truly are and what matters to us. It's our life purpose that emerges out of that vulnerability. And so until we actually start to relate to the vulnerable parts, those kids on our bus that have been sidelined up until now, we don't really know who we are or the gifts that we're here to give. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, and it's so powerful. It's our vulnerability can actually become our, what's the word? Our gift. It's a gift.
So I'd like, if I mind turning the table on you just a little bit, what did you discover about your sacred wound?
Yeah, my sacred wound was, again, this is probably this is like 5th month of working with you. So this is not like day one. I'm like, ooh, let's just like, actually, I was trying to be as patient as I can throughout this entire process. But I think one thing that was, that taught me was like, this is a lifelong journey. And it's not something that you can figure out in 2 months. You know, this is not like Amazon PPC where you can turn it on and you're good. We're human beings. There's thousands and thousands of years of my ancestors inside of me. There's the DNA. We're very complicated people. And scientists, they can't even understand like we only use 10% of our brain or something like that.
I think that's a myth, but it's clear that we really don't understand the brain at this moment. We have a very limited understanding of it.
Right. So my sacred wound has always been like, my dad, he used to just go on these business trips, like when I was 1 year old, 2 years old. And at a very early age, I would watch my dad leave. And I didn't understand why he was leaving. I didn't understand where he was going. I didn't know if he was coming back. And I felt as a 2-year-old boy, 3-year-old boy, 4-year-old boy, watching my dad come home and then leave, come home and then leave. It fucked with me. Like it really did. I had daddy issues. Like I guess that's what daddy issues are, right? I felt like I didn't know if he loved me, and I didn't know if he was going to come back. And so through that, I had to tell myself that if you want something in the world, you can't rely on anybody else. You can't rely on your daddy to come and give it to you because he's not there and he might not come back. And at that point, like as a 2-year-old, 3-year-old boy, all I wanted, like even though he was going for work and he was going for work so that he can make a lot of money so that we can actually move from China to another country, because he saw the rest of the world and he said, I don't want my kids, I don't want my son and my wife to be in China. I want them to be in America or in Canada or anywhere in the world. But in order for me to get them out, I need to make money. I need to do all these work trips. But for me, as a younger self, the 3-year-old boy, it's like, I didn't care any of that. I don't care about going to Canada or USA. I just want my dad. I just wanted him to be there with me. And yeah, I had to tell myself, like,
Can I
if you
pause you
want
just
some,
for a second? It looks like
yeah,
even there's some emotion still passing through even as you tell that story.
yeah, no, definitely. It's like, it's, yeah, there's, you know, I cannot get emotional talking about it, but, and I just had to tell myself, like, you want something in this world, like, don't rely on anybody else, go get it. And ever since I was a little boy, like 2, 3-year-old, 4-year-old, 5-year-old, I wanted something in the world. Like, I wanted lunch, I wanted some money to pay for snacks, to get candy. I just went out and did it. And but then this whole time, I've been also earning for his love. I've been also wondering if he actually loves me.
Right.
And I've been doing so many things, you know, to try to make money, to try to be as successful as I can, to try to be as good of a person as I can. Partially, not 100% of it, but partially because I want to prove to my dad that I am worthy of his love. That,
Right.
like, hey, like, your son is not a failure, like you said. When he says a lot of things to me, but now it's like to the point where money is not an issue. I still have that fucking problem. Like, does he love me? Like, that didn't change.
Mm-hmm.
That didn't change at all. And he's not here. He's in Germany. Before that, he was in LA. Like, I've never had, like, I don't remember the last time I had a, like, I don't remember the last time I had a family dinner with my parents. It's like, sit in the same table and have food with them. And it's, it's, and I want that. Like, they're getting old and we haven't seen each other in so long. And yeah, it's, but the good news is they are coming back. All the plans got fucked up due to COVID, but they are planning to get their shots and they are planning to come back. But yeah, like, maybe this is a good example of, maybe on the surface level on social media, everybody sees, wow,
Right.
Tom lives a fucking sick life, like, sold his business, he's under 30 and he's worth so much money and he's got cool cars and he's got this and that and he's got a dog. But like, it's
And
stuff
yet,
that I think about.
and so we're touching the wounding, which, so thank you, by the way. I'm looking at some of the comments in there. You're getting hugs and thank you, Tom. And because the truth of the matter is you're sharing your heart makes you accessible to all of us. So thank you. I want to say that. And at the same time, there's a way in which that wounding is sacred. So I want to just sort of turn the tables back on you, if you don't mind me doing that, and say,
Mm-hmm.
what's sacred about this for you?
obviously it's like a painful experience, but that's how I get to where I am today. Like that's what made me who I am today. Maybe if my dad was at home all the time and gave everything to me and I was a daddy's boy and I didn't have to work for shit in my life, maybe I wouldn't be anywhere in life. Maybe I would just be expecting a handout from someone.
Right. Right. And
And
so go ahead,
yeah,
please. No, no.
and what helped me to kind of understand the situation a little bit better was, thinking about my dad's dad, like thinking about my dad's dad, like my granddad, I've never met him before, and he passed away when my dad was very little, and my dad grew up in this like farm, this village with no electricity, no running water, no washroom, no toilet, like just a little hut. Um and it was probably something he was craving for his life as well, like his dad's acceptance, or he wished maybe his dad would have
Or
saw.
even a father figure, even having a father figure, which he
Yeah,
didn't have.
yeah. And then my granddad's dad, so my great granddad, who I've obviously never met, it's like you said, it gets passed on generations and generations and generations. This is not a my dad and Tom thing. This is a generation that's been passed on to me. But what really got me going working with you was knowing that I have like my ancestors' blood and DNA inside of me.
Right.
And I was very comfortable for a long time because, making money here, having the freedom there. But it's like what I realized is that my ancestors like fought for their lives. Like my dad, he didn't have food to eat growing
Yes.
up. And if I'm in such a position that I am in today, like what a fucking waste if I just sit at home and watch YouTube all day. Like what a waste. Like now that I am in my position, why not use that to my advantage? Why not try to contribute as much as I can? And I want to help people. Like I enjoy helping people. Like I didn't need to do this interview with you, and you're not charging money. I'm not charging money, and it's free for everybody to watch.
Yeah.
And this brings me joy and brings me happiness. And it's like, I hope that everybody can achieve that moment in their lives, because it's a cool moment.
Just so you know, you're completely shining in my eyes at this moment. Just what you just did, what you just revealed there for all of you, the people who are watching, because what you're doing through that vulnerability is that you are you're being a healing force in the world, and taking that wound and transforming it, making good on it, so that other people can see it. Look at all the hands clapping, and
Yeah.
absolutely, Tom. Look at that. That's you taking that wound and transforming it, making good on it.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a gift that keeps on giving. My wound, I'm not trying to overshadow you at all. I want to sort of like do this to you before I move on, but just to say, like, this work for me comes out of my own wounding, which was that when I was 17 years old, my only brother took his life. We were raised in an environment where we had everything. We went to the best schools, we took great vacations, we were given all that privilege. But in spite of it, I still had a brother who struggled with drugs and alcohol. He struggled with mental illness, and he took his life. And that wounding itself sent me on a journey. And this conversation, you might say, is the culmination of that journey. And what I'm teaching is the culmination of that work of healing from that experience, because there's nothing worse than having not only a member of your family die, but having a member of your family take their life, and the shame of that, and the cultural shame that I experienced. That it was like my first week in college that he took his life, and I took time off from college and I went back to college. This is, 20 some odd years ago. And I'll never forget, I was invited to a sorority party, and the woman next to me said, "Do you know that that Jesus?" She said, "Do you know that this is a very unchristian thing to do, to commit suicide, and that your brother is going to hell?" And that was the day. So it was like, not nice. And so living with a lot of shame and then learning how to heal from that shame.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think we all, like every single one of us in this chat, 283 of us tonight sharing this call, it's like we all have our own, we all have our wounds. We all have our insecurities. We all have the deep wounds that society actually tells us. What does society tells us to do? Like, just don't worry about it. It'll go away. Don't think about it. Shove it down. Don't face that truth. Don't confront it.
That's right.
It's only going to make you feel better. Worse. It's only going to make you feel worse. But that's the wrong way.
It's completely ass backwards.
Right.
Because actually when we do tap into the wounding and we know how to do it, we know how to meet it just so, it opens up a whole life for ourselves that has been sort of squashed by society up until then.
Can you actually share the story about the cloud and the sky? Because I think that was a very powerful imagery for me to understand this whole mindfulness thing.
But basically, if you think about what is mindfulness, let's just step back, because it's just a lot of nonsense that's been fed to us about what mindfulness is. Oftentimes we think about it as thinking about something really intensely or with a lot of focus, which is completely BS. Mindfulness is more like this. You can think about each thought and feeling being like a cloud in the sky. We often identify as the clouds in the sky, but who we are is that which is aware of those thoughts and feelings. It doesn't mean that we don't experience those thoughts and feelings. It doesn't mean we don't understand them or try to relate to them. It's just also to recognize that we are much wider than each of those anxious thoughts that comes in. We are so much more than the one who is angry. Like I was listening to, it's a well-known speaker. He's the director for the Center for Humane Justice, or I think that's what it is. Anyways, talking about people who kill. He said, people who kill are not necessarily killers. We identify them as killers, but they are people who have killed, which is really distinct. It's to say that in the same way, in the same vein, we think about ourselves, I am an angry person. No, anger arises in you and you have thoughts and feelings of anger. Or I'm an anxious person. No, anxiety comes up in me, but a whole host of other things comes up in me. So it's the recognition that I'm much wider than these thoughts and feelings that are arising.
Right. Yeah, that helps me. Like when I meditate, I think of that a lot actually. Because the whole point, like, what is the point of meditation? Like a lot of people don't understand. Like people think, well, meditation is going to make you calm. It's going to make you speak slower, make you more zen. What is the actual point of meditation? What is the purpose of it?
I think really, somebody wrote here, helps with the nervous system. No, that helps with the nervous system. But I think that's really like a side effect of what meditation really is. Yes, without a doubt, there are different techniques that have been passed on for generations to settle the nervous system. But it's actually what we've been talking about throughout our conversation, which is it's to get to know yourself. It's on some level, it's to start to become your best ally and to start to learn how to listen to all the various parts of ourselves, all the different kids on our bus, including the ones that are uptight and judgmental of ourselves, and those that are more vulnerable and more anxious. It's on some level, it's about learning how to reparent ourselves or to be like a stable force for ourselves. So going back to that metaphor of the sky and the clouds, that if I can recognize myself as the clouds rather than the sky, so when the anxious thoughts come in, like, oh my God, I'm about to be interviewed and there are, 287 people Actually, I was told that there would be a lot more people, but that's a lot of people showing up. And you can imagine in my tradition, we call it spilkus, which means anxiety, the anxiety arising within my system and all the kind of anticipatory thoughts. But yet there's some part of me that can step back and notice those thoughts and feelings, and to keep those feelings company, and to be related to those feelings like, hey, it's gonna be okay.
Right.
And to start to develop a kind of a compassionate, loving relationship to all the parts of our being, so that ultimately we start to make decisions that come from a kind of a higher, wiser place, rather than from all of those kids on the bus that are trying to take over the wheel of our bus.
Right. Yeah. And I think meditation is almost like exercising. It's like training a muscle. Like the more you meditate, the better you get at that. It's not like tomorrow you meditate for 5 minutes and then like I get good at it.
Yeah, I mean, you've probably noticed the distinction over this period of time. How are you noticing it changing? Because you've been at it consistently now for what, 6 months now, 5 months?
Yeah. It was definitely hard at the beginning. Like what is this? Like am I supposed to not feel any thoughts? It's not about that. It's about when you are having thoughts to pull yourself back, to go back to the present moment. That space is what meditation to me helps with. So that way, when you are living out, in the world and something happens to you, you can pull yourself back from the situation, be the sky instead of be the cloud. And again, like all of this is very applicable to business, right? Like all of this is very applicable to business.
See if you can tease that out, that statement right there.
To
when you
what?
say it's very app. See if you can tease out what you're trying to say there. It's very applicable to business. Why is that? That ability to be the sky and not the clouds. Why is that applicable to business? What's your sense of that?
It's just in business, there's so much going on as a business owner. You have to spin so many wheels. At your job, at your 9 to 5 job, you focus on one thing. That's what you do. But in business, you spin the marketing plate, you spin the finance plate, you spin the product plate, you spin all the plates. You have to spin all of them, and it gets so much. It gets too much, and when you get super overwhelmed, you don't know what to do. You start feeling anxious, and your thoughts start going around in the head, and you can't make a good decision. And in business, if you can't make good decisions, it's like a chess game. It's like a board game. It's like any game. If you start making the wrong moves, like you're not going to do well. So meditation helps with making good decisions from that perspective.
Yeah.
And also you have guided meditations on your website, correct?
I do.
Yeah. We'll drop all of Chad's like contact at the end. So that way you guys can go on Chad's website and get the guided meditation stuff from him.
And there's a lot of material that's accessible, not just on my website, but just throughout the web. There's a lot of teachers that are out there. There's a lot of really great teachings that are out there. I want to underline that all I'm doing is just one, like my own, what do you call it? Curation of what I think is the essence, and that somebody can get within a 6-month period of time, in an intensive way, because but also not in a retreat, but in the middle of their life. And it's to learn ultimately a set of tools that leaves you independent. I think that's another distinction between this and psychotherapy, which is that in psychotherapy, and this is not true for all psychotherapists, but generally speaking, you're dependent on the therapist. And in this training, you're learning a set of tools that leaves you independent. And I think that's really whether it's the yoga tradition or whether it's the meditation work, it's really, that work is all about trying to give you a set of tools to leave you independent, but it also helps to have another set of eyes that can help you see what are some of the blind spots that you walk into, whether it's your work or your relationships with.
So let's move. We have tons of questions from people. We have 100 and how many did we get? 114 questions. Obviously, we're not going to go through all of them, but there are definitely a few where it's like every other one, they just hit it. So the first one is, let's talk about fear, right? Give me one sec. Overcoming fear, the fear of failure, the fear of success. If I do something, it doesn't work out. Another way, so this is a good question. Why is it so hard for me to get started on things that I want to do? For example, starting my Amazon journey or lifting weights in the gym. I want to do all of this, but I can't find the willpower to start. Is it because I'm too comfortable?
So I would be an idiot if I were going to actually answer that question. I have no idea who's writing the question or what's going on with them. So to be transparent, I have not a clue why he can't or she can't lift weights.
You don't have a magic wand that you can just wave and they'll be cured?
I don't know.
No.
Because I think the truth of the matter is that we're all individuals. But I can say that we all have, going back to the metaphor of the kids on the bus, we all have parts of ourselves that are at odds with each other. And we really don't know, because on some level, perhaps going to the gym is the thing that is not actually that's needed in that given moment. And perhaps it's, you know, another thing we could even say is perhaps that individual who's asking that question, they are not in touch with their sacred wound, which is to say, they're not connected to what their life purpose is. And if you're neither connected to what that wound is or to that purpose, then anything that you do will often be undermined or thwarted by other parts of ourselves. Until we are connected to what actually matters, then often we find ourselves spinning and doing things that don't actually take us closer to what actually matters. And there are parts of ourselves that will undermine us enough or will sabotage us enough until we wake up to what it is that we're here to do or to be. Mm-hmm. There's a wisdom inherent in our system, even in the self-sabotage.
So Ace Edge says, can you give some basic way to get over fears? Are you saying it's just like it's impossible to do? Or I guess it's not impossible. It's like follow that framework that we just kind of talked about. It's like
I mean, you could, but the truth of the matter is that, okay, I'm going to do something that you probably should never do on a podcast, but I'm going to do it anyway, which is to say, those 5-step programs that they have around here are 5 ways to get over fear are complete bullshit. They're a waste of time, because every one of us is individual. We all have to find our own unique way into relating to the fear that is there. Mm-hmm. In other words, the fears that arise are very individual. I guess the question, if I was going to get to the essence of the answer, is to say, how do you start to relate to the part of you that is afraid?
By the way, maybe we can, me and Chad, we're going to do this. We're going to bring someone on and kind of like, I don't want to use the word diagnose to fix you. No, I'm just kidding. But we were going to bring someone on, just like see if there can be more information and so on and so forth.
It's so much more interesting to answer those questions with each individual, because each of us has a body of knowledge that is, when revealed, is actually really transformative for all of us to watch. Just
Who wants to be that person? Keisha said. Keisha Ram. Oh, we got one. I'm gonna bring her up right now. Let's do this thing. There you go.
Yeah.
There we are.
Sorry, the lighting is a little bit bad where I am.
No worries.
Hi everyone.
Hi, Kesha.
So as I was saying, I think that's one of my biggest challenges right now, is being able to actually do the action. And that's something I've been actively trying to work with when it comes to whether it's like shadow work or journaling, or really just allowing myself to sit and feel what's going on. Why do I feel like I'm being hesitant towards actually doing something or starting just the first step in doing it?
Yeah.
But that's been my biggest struggle recently, a little bit.
So let's bring it alive. So it's not just a kind of just take me to a moment where you're feeling like in the not so recent past where you're feeling particularly stuck.
Sorry, in a recent moment, or? Yeah,
it sounds like it's pretty current, this inability to kind of take action.
Yes, I would say recently, I guess I can use my school for an example. I'm currently a university student studying marketing. And I had taken a break because my dad had passed away from cancer unexpectedly about 2.5 years ago. And that impacted my life a lot, of course. And so with that being said, I had taken a break, and now I'm trying to get back into the swing of things and allowing myself to really just immerse myself and getting my life back on track. But when it comes to doing the action, like homework, for an example, I would open up my online textbook, have my notebook ready to go, sit down, and I tell myself, okay, this is an opportunity you have to learn and do some new things. And even then I would sit there and just stare at the screen and be like, where do I start? I would read things and be like, am I even understanding it? Am I really reading it? And just continuously go back to keep rereading it until I just get to a point where I'm like, I don't think I'm absorbing anything. So this is not going to work. Let's just try again tomorrow.
Can I pause you right there?
Mm-hmm.
Can I ask you just for a moment to notice what's happening as you're reporting that story, maybe in your throat, your chest, or your belly? What's happening over there?
Yeah, I'm feeling a little bit of anxiousness and anxiety, I guess, kind of coming up as I'm talking about it. Talking about my dad passing away is, of course, never easy, kind of how Tom talked about his experience. And I've been going to therapy to really allow myself to process a lot of it. But it's still really crazy sometimes, no matter how much time has passed, how traumatic, like big events like that can still pour into your life at other times. So I guess it's just that emotion that's coming up of feeling kind of anxious, like, wow, like I really want to continue doing more with my life, but I'm feeling stuck being able to do it. And even just talking about it.
Yeah. And then just play with me for one more moment. Like, just go back there. Go back to that feeling right there, that anxiety there. And just see if you
in my throat, chest, stomach, I really feel it.
That's so great. So see if you can just kind of welcome it there just for a moment. Like, as opposed to it being an error, like it's a mistake, like something you have to fix or get over, just like, can we just say, yeah, you're welcome here. Yeah, that's good. Placing your hand there, yeah. And once again, we're not trying to get rid of this feeling. We're not even trying to get it to change. I just want to see, I want to explore it with you just to see if it has any wisdom to share with you about this one question of, like, you know, what has me so stuck? What has me unable to sort of take action when given the opportunity to study, for example? It's like, I sit in front of that screen and I can't.
The word that keeps coming into my mind is fear.
Yeah. See if you can give that fear word some space. And see if you can sense what makes it so scared in there. What's it afraid of?
I think there's two parts of it for me as I'm allowing it to really sit. The thoughts are coming into my head. I think one part of it is the fear that my dad's not going to be here to really see me being able to do all these things that him and I have talked about for so many years. Right. And on the other side of things, I think it's the fear of doing it and being good at it, and then allowing myself to continue with just keep building that momentum as I'm starting to take the first couple steps and really feeling like I can do it.
So you can hear that there's some part of you that isn't quite yet ready to let go. Because if you let go, then that means some success, some movement away from dad, right? You can hear that's the second part. Then there's the first part, which is it's like there's, like, dad won't get to see this. I won't get to share this. Dad and I shared in my dreams, in the realization of these dreams. He won't get to share in that.
Yeah, I think there's a lot. I resonate with that a lot. My dad was definitely my best friend growing up. I loved my mom, but my dad was like my backbone and my protector. He was the one who really encouraged me to just follow my dreams. At 10 years old, I told him I wanted to do acting. He allowed me to go to an acting school, took me to LA, to Vegas, to all these different places for competitions, for my auditions. And when he got sick and I realized the severity of what was actually going on with him and that he's not going to be able to come home, it was definitely really hard to realize he's not going to be here when I get my license or when I graduate. And now that I'm starting to do these things, it's a constant reminder he's not here to watch me pursue the rest of my life.
That's it. And then go back into that chest, throat area and just see what's there now. See if it's easing at all or if it's getting stronger.
It's definitely getting stronger. So I think I'm like on the right path with allowing myself to really release things in a very honest way.
Yes. Right. And just see before we bring this to a close, just see if there's anything else it wants to show you. Anything else that maybe it's been afraid to show you up until now, but it's sort of safe now to reveal.
Take the chance.
Mm-hmm. And let me just kind of help you with that, tease that out a little bit, which is if Dad's passing were, you know, we never want our dad to pass. We never want our family, our closest. It sounds like he was one of your best friends, maybe your best friend.
Yeah.
And on one level, you know, we could say it's an error. He died way too young and way too young for you. And yet he's given you a gift. What's that gift that he's giving you? Imagine, before even you answer that, imagine he's handing you a gift. And you open that box and just see what comes out. See what images, metaphors, things come out of that box.
I feel like I have my dad like yelling in my head as I'm opening up this box and trying to imagine it. I imagine like there's words of courage.
Yes.
There's words of strength.
Yes.
And my dad had this saying, and the one thing he always valued the most was the value of time and how you truly never can take back the time. Every day, a minute that goes by, you can't get back. So you truly have to make the most of every day that you wake up and you're presented with the opportunity to either evolve or keep repeating what you're doing. So really making the most of your time.
Good. Now take those gifts, strength, courage, time, sounds like also focus, taking advantage, almost even gratitude for the gift of life. Go right back into that heart of yours and just see what's happening now.
It's easing. That feeling is easing a lot.
So what will you take with you out of this conversation?
To take the chance and to allow myself to feel and to kind of repeat this. But the biggest thing I think I'm going to be taking away from it is really taking that chance. Because unless I take it, I'm never going to know where it's going to lead me.
Beautiful. Thank you, Kesha. I really appreciate you having the courage to step forward.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to let me do this, Tom and Chad. This was incredible. And wow, like I just have like butterflies in my chest now. This was really nice. Thank you so much for your help.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you for having the courage to speak up.
Thank you, everyone.
Hey, I'm gonna boot you now.
Sounds good. Thanks.
All right. Well, it's not fair for Chad to do all of this under an hour and a half because I've been working with him for like 6 months now. So, but I think it's a new concept to a lot of us because again, society tells us to not do this, to not face your fears, to not engage with that, to just put it down. And what I call actually is called stinky fish because there's a stinky fish underneath us right now. And then we just want to leave it there. But guess what? It's not going to smell better. It's actually going to smell worse. So one of these days you got to go down under the chair and grab that stinky fish out and throw it out. So
can I reframe that and say,
yes,
it appears to be like stinky fish. It's actually our gold. We got to see that with Kesha today. We got to see that with you today. It's actually where our gold is. And we've been sitting on a treasure our whole lives until we actually look to see that treasure. We will never discover that we actually have a treasure underneath there.
Right. That's why, Chad, you're the life coach and I'm just the Amazon guy.
Pretty wise Amazon guy, if you ask me.
Yeah. Okay. So guys, I really appreciate all of you for joining, but I just wanted to take a second to say, like, this is the type of stuff that I don't think you're going to get from any sort of Amazon courses, because for me, I've been thinking lately a lot about where I want to take this course and what I want to do. Like, what is the bigger picture? And the bigger picture is actually not trying to help you guys make more money. I think, okay, let me backtrack. Yes, it is. I'm trying to help you guys to make more money. That is objective number one. What I'm saying is there's more to that. Number one is help you guys to make more money, because I think once you make more money, a lot of the money related issues will go away, but there's a lot of other issues that you still have deep inside. And I'm not going to become a life coach like Chad, but but every single week when I do these calls, I want to just drop a little bit of sprinkle of wisdom, sprinkle of knowledge, so that maybe if that one little sprinkle can help you to change your mindset about something, and then that will help you to go pursue, I don't know, like maybe Chad is not the only life coach like there is. Maybe you're just like, hey, I'm going to go to this event, that event, and you get out of your, um, um, your safety zone. That's really what I'm trying to do, and just have a total transformation, not only from how to make money, but from all the other aspects of your life as well: physical, spirituality, wealth. There are so many different pillars, and I want to be able to contribute to all of those. So yeah, that's kind of that's that. Chad, any last words? And thank you for
I'm applauding you out here. I'm actually really I like that that's actually what your deepest intention is moving forward.
right.
Which is really, of course it is about helping people achieve wealth. And yet there's wealth on so many other levels, and you're honoring that. So I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to share my gifts and to share what I'm actually passionate about. And also I want to thank your audience for having the patience to stick in there and to listen from their heart. It's a very different place that we got to. I'm surprised we got there today, and I'm very grateful that we got there today. It's actually where I long to be most often. So thank you for giving us the opportunity of that, Tom.
Yeah, I wasn't planning on crying in front of 300 people, but when it came, it just came. So I just gotta let it out. And Chad, real quick, so for those that are working, for those that want to work with Chad only does one-on-one. He doesn't do anything else, but he has a massive waiting list right now. I think he's going to open that up in like fall or winter or whatever. I don't know.
Winter time. If you want to just get in touch with me, regardless, the email is, the website is herstwellness.com, HERST wellness.com. Just if you have questions and you want to reach out, I'm happy to answer them. Yeah. I may be a little slow at getting them, but I, yeah.
And there's the guided meditation stuff on herstwellness.com as well. And just let all of you guys know as well, like there is a 5-figure investment to work with Chad one-on-one. So if you're writing him 10 emails a day expecting free service and so on and so forth, it wouldn't be very fair to Chad, because we all have 24 hours in a day. He has his clients into service. So just setting the expectations that Chad, there is a cost of working with Chad.
And yet, if you have questions that have come out of this session, I'm also happy to answer them as well. But yeah, thank you. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to share my work today.
Absolutely. Awesome, guys. So for those that joined the course already, find that inner fire inside of you to continue on this journey and to build yourself a very successful business. For those that have not joined the course due to fear, due to this, due to that, whatever it might be, I was going to say get over them, but that's not anyways, I think rewatch this whole thing again. That's what you should do. And then call back your coach, and they can help you to enroll into the FBA Masterclass family. And again, this is what Salvador said. This is not a course. It's a family with great people. So anyways, Thank you so much, Chad, for your time. And thank you, everybody, for attending. And I will see you guys very soon. Have a good night, everybody.